June 28, 2014, Vancouver, Canada. Su Bin steps out his front door holding his morning coffee when two unmarked Crown Victorias block his driveway. 8 Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers surround him instantly. The coffee mug shatters on concrete. Su Bin, a 49-year-old aviation parts dealer with 3 employees, doesn't resist. He knows exactly why they're here. For 6 years, he's been stealing America's most classified military technology. Not with guns or lockpicks, with hackers, emails, and Excel spreadsheets. The officers find 630,000 stolen Boeing files on his laptop, design specs for the F-35 Lightning II stealth fighter, radar signatures for the F-22 Raptor, flight test protocols worth $31 billion in development costs. Su Bin hasn't just stolen documents, he's stolen the future of air superiority, and he's already delivered it to Beijing. But here's what the officers don't know yet. Arresting Su Bin will trigger an international hostage crisis. And the technology Su stole? It's already flying over the South China Sea. But how did he pull it off? And why did Beijing choose him? 2008, Beijing Aerospace Conference. Su Bin works the room like a politician, memorizing names, companies, clearance levels. His business card reads, Load Tech Industries, a company that manufactures cable harnesses for commercial aircraft with an annual revenue of $180,000. But his real job pays considerably more. That morning, Su received new instructions from 2 People's Liberation Army hackers operating under the code names UC2 and UC3. Their target list includes 17 American defense contractors. But they have a problem. They don't know which employees have access to classified servers, which Su Bin does. For 3 years, Su has been mapping the American defense industry from the inside. At the Paris Air Show, he befriends a Boeing engineer named Michael Chen, who mentions working on something special in Long Beach. At a supplier conference in Seattle, he meets Jennifer Park from Lockheed's Skunk Works division. She complains about their new security protocols, revealing exactly which protocols to avoid. Su records every detail in encrypted files labeled cultivation reports. By December 2008, he's identified 147 employees across 31 companies with potential access to military programs. He marks 12 as primary targets, people with financial problems, bitter about promotions, or simply careless with passwords. China needs this intelligence desperately. Their J-10 fighter can't match the F-16. Their transport planes carry half the payload of American equivalents. Pentagon analysts estimate China is 20 years behind in aviation technology. Su Bin plans to compress those decades into months. His first target is Boeing's C-17 Globemaster III production facility in Long Beach, California. The C-17 costs $202 million per unit and can deliver 170,000 pounds of cargo anywhere on Earth. China has been trying to build an equivalent for 11 years, and they've failed 17 times. On January 9, 2009, Su sends UC2 a phishing template disguised as a Boeing pension update. The email targets Dennis Liu, a stress engineer Su met at a Vancouver trade show who complained about his retirement fund. Liu clicks the link at 2:31 p.m. Pacific Time. By 2:32, Chinese military hackers are inside Boeing's servers. They move through the network for 18 months, installing 47 different backdoors, creating administrator accounts, and sniffing all the traffic they can. They work exclusively between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. Pacific Time, Beijing business hours, when Boeing's security team is skeleton-staffed. The hackers send Su directory listings every week. One contains 6,000 pages of file names. Su highlights 22 folders in yellow, the ones containing classified data. Inside one folder, there are over 2,000 files detailing the C-17's cargo loading system, a technology China has never successfully replicated. Each stolen file saves China an estimated 2 years of research. Some files are so sensitive that Boeing doesn't even know they've been copied until the FBI shows them proof 5 years later. By the way, if you're enjoying this investigation into one of history's most damaging spy operations and want to see how deep this conspiracy goes, hit subscribe. Because what Su Bin steals next will fundamentally alter the balance of military power. By March 2010, Su's team extracts 630,000 files, totaling 65 gigabytes from Boeing. The haul includes stress test data, materials specifications, manufacturing tolerances, everything needed to reverse engineer the C-17. Su personally translates 3,400 pages from English to Mandarin, adding annotations like "critical for thermal management" and "this solves our hydraulics problem." In a progress report to Beijing, he writes, "We have safely, smoothly accomplished the mission of stealing the C-17, making important contributions to national defense scientific research. But the C-17 was never Su's ultimate target. It was practice, a test run for something much bigger." On April 15, 2010, Su receives new orders from Beijing. He has a new target, the Lockheed Martin's crown jewel, the F-35 Lightning II. But how do you steal a $1.7 trillion fighter jet program? And why would China risk war to get it? October 11, 2011. Su Bin's home office in Richmond, British Columbia. He's reviewing the latest hack when he spots something extraordinary in the stolen files, a document. And this single document contains the electromagnetic signature of America's newest stealth fighter, the exact radar frequencies the F-35 can evade. With this data, China can design radars specifically tuned to detect invisible aircraft. Su marks it Priority 1 and adds a note. This changes everything. The F-35 program involves 1,700 suppliers across 45 states. Lockheed Martin maintains the primary servers, but thousands of subcontractors hold pieces of the puzzle. BAE Systems designs the electronic warfare suite. Northrop Grumman builds the radar. Pratt & Whitney manufactures the engine. Each company thinks their piece is too small to matter. Su Bin knows better. He creates a grid mapping which contractors hold which technologies. Column A lists 67 companies. Column B identifies their weakest cybersecurity points. Column C contains employee names from his cultivation reports. The grid becomes Su's blueprint for the largest military technology theft in history. His hackers penetrate the first subcontractor on November 3, 2011, a small firm in Connecticut that machines titanium components for the F-35's vertical lift fan. The company has only 43 employees and one IT administrator who works part-time. Their firewall hasn't been updated since 2009. UC2 and UC3 are inside within 4 minutes. They install a keylogger that captures the administrator's password, password 123. That password unlocks the company's shared drive with Lockheed Martin. Inside, there are 340 gigabytes of F-35 blueprints. Over the next 18 months, Su's team infiltrates 21 F-35 subcontractors using the same pattern. Small companies with outdated security and shared networks with prime contractors. Each breach opens new doors. From a supplier in Fort Worth, they steal the F-35's sensor fusion algorithms, code that lets pilots see through the aircraft floor. From a firm in Baltimore, they obtain the helmet-mounted display specifications, technology that projects flight data directly onto the pilot's visor. From a company in El Segundo, they extract the radar-absorbent coating formula, 11 years and $2.3 billion in development. Su organizes the stolen data with obsessive precision. He creates folders labeled by aircraft sections, and inside each folder, there are hundreds of files with Su's handwritten translations and technical notes. The Wall Street Journal will later report that Chinese hackers stole several terabytes of F-35 data. The real number, according to Su's own records, is 24.3 terabytes across 3.7 million files. December 19, 2012. Su receives photographs from Beijing. China's J-20 stealth fighter prototype has been redesigned with a new forward fuselage that exactly matches the F-35's radar cross-section. The canopy uses the same gold-tinted coating found in stolen Lockheed specifications. The engine intake geometry, a problem China struggled with for 7 years, now mirrors the F-35's precisely. But stealing the data is only half the operation. Su must also ensure his tracks remain hidden. His hackers route their attacks through 17 different countries using compromised servers in South Korea, Poland, India, and Brazil. They lease cloud storage under fake companies registered in Cyprus. They transmit stolen files in 50-megabyte chunks, small enough to avoid detection by automated security systems. When Boeing's security team notices unusual network activity in February 2013, they trace it to a server in Romania that was wiped clean 6 hours earlier. By March 2014, Su Bin has stolen military secrets worth an estimated $600 billion in research and development. The F-35's stealth capabilities, the F-22's thrust vectoring system, and the C-17's cargo management software. Technologies that took America 40 years to perfect, now sitting on servers in Beijing. Su has earned $4.7 million for his work, roughly $1.5 per stolen file. He owns 3 properties in Vancouver, drives a 2013 Mercedes S-Class, and maintains accounts in Hong Kong worth $8.3 million. His LinkedIn profile lists him as President, Load Tech Industries. His real title should be Architect of the Greatest Military Heist in History. Yet, 7,500 miles away, in a basement office at FBI headquarters, Special Agent Justin Valise is staring at an intercepted email with the subject line C-17 Project Reconnaissance Summary. Who intercepted these communications? And how did they trace them back to a cable harness manufacturer in Canada? August 8, 2012, FBI Los Angeles Division. Special Agent Justin Valise opens a package marked Eyes Only from the National Security Agency. Inside, there are printed emails between 3 individuals discussing Project C-17 and Big Bird, Boeing's internal code name for the Globemaster. The NSA intercepted these communications using PRISM collection against Chinese military servers. One email contains an attachment, a 16-page report detailing exactly how hackers penetrated Boeing's Long Beach facility. The report lists stolen files by name, includes screenshots of Boeing's internal directories, and celebrates successfully obtaining 630,000 files for the motherland. Valese reads one line 3 times. Project manager Stephen Su provided target list and translation services. Stephen Su, now, he has a name. Finding Su Bin takes 4 months. The hackers use 13 different email addresses across 6 providers. They communicate through draft folders, never sending messages, a technique that avoids most surveillance. But they make one mistake. On January 14, 2013, someone logs into the account sbyinka@gmail.com from IP address 67.193.4.4.22, registered to TELUS Communications in Richmond, British Columbia. That IP traces to a residential address, 8571 from Beaucock Road, and the property owner is Su Bin. The FBI cross-references Su with aviation industry databases. He attended the 2009 Paris Air Show, the 2010 Boeing Suppliers Conference, the 2011 Defense Manufacturing Summit. Each event coincides with new cyber intrusions at attendee companies. Valesi builds a timeline. March 2009, Su meets Boeing engineer at Vancouver Trade Show. April 2009, that engineer's credentials used to access classified servers. October 2010, Su attends Lockheed supplier event in Dallas. November 2010, Dallas-based subcontractor breached using conference attendee list. The pattern repeats 17 times. Su isn't just identifying targets, he's providing hackers with detailed intelligence about each victim. Employee names, email formats, security protocols, even vacation schedules extracted from casual conversation. One email from UC2 thanks Su for noting that Target's IT department is minimal during Thanksgiving week. The FBI's investigation expands across 3 agencies. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations calculates the military impact. China's Y-20 transport plane, revealed in 2013, incorporates 17 specific design elements from the stolen C-17 files. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service finds that China's J-31 fighter prototype uses the exact same radar-absorbent material formula stolen from Lockheed. The Defense Intelligence Agency estimates the thefts accelerated Chinese military aviation by 10 to 15 years, saving Beijing $100 billion in research costs. But prosecuting Su presents a unique challenge. He's a Canadian citizen living in Vancouver. China won't acknowledge the operation exists. The hackers UC2 and UC3 are People's Liberation Army officers with diplomatic immunity. Traditional extradition could take years. The Justice Department needs leverage. On May 19, 2014, Attorney General Eric Holder announces the indictment of 5 Chinese military hackers for economic espionage, the first ever criminal charges against foreign military officers. The indictment sends a message to Beijing. America is done tolerating cyber theft. Behind the scenes, prosecutor Adam Hickey prepares a sealed indictment against Su Bin. Unlike his military partners, Su has no immunity. He travels frequently, he owns property in California, so he's vulnerable. June 27, 2014. Su Bin books a flight from Vancouver to China, departing June 29th. The FBI has 48 hours. Valesi calls the Royal Canadian Mounted Police at 4 p.m. By 6 p.m., Canadian prosecutors have an arrest warrant. By 10 p.m., surveillance teams confirm Su is home at 857 1 Beaucock Road. They'll move at dawn. The arrest operation involves 31 officers across multiple agencies, RCMP tactical teams, FBI liaisons, Canadian Security Intelligence Service observers. They expect Su might attempt to destroy evidence, standard protocol for intelligence assets. 2 officers are assigned solely to secure electronics. They must prevent Su from triggering any kill switches that could wipe his drives. At 5:43 a.m. on June 28th, teams take positions around Su's house. At 5:47 a.m., Su opens his front door. In his hand, there is a cup of coffee and his Samsung Galaxy phone. An officer immediately separates him from the device. Good thing, Su had an encrypted messaging app open, his thumb hovering over a button labeled Emergency Clean. Inside Su's home office, investigators find 3 laptops, 8 external drives, and 47 USB sticks hidden inside a fake electrical outlet. The primary laptop contains 892 gigabytes of stolen military data, organized in folders with Chinese labels. One folder alone, F-35 electromagnetic properties, contains information classified beyond top secret. If leaked publicly, these files would compromise the entire F-35 fleet's survivability. Su has backups of everything on drives scattered across 3 continents. Even now, arrested and facing extradition, he assumes Beijing will negotiate his release. He's about to learn that China protects its assets differently. Within 5 days of Su's arrest, 2 Canadians living in China will vanish into detention. Their crime? Being Canadian at the wrong time. Who were Kevin and Julia Garrett? And why did China choose them? July 4th, 2014. Dandong, China, near the North Korean border. Kevin and Julia Garrett finished dinner at the Shangri-La Hotel. For 30 years, they've run Peter's Coffee House, teaching English and helping North Korean refugees. They're discussing plans for their son's wedding when 8 state security agents surround their table, without explanation or charges. The Garretts are separated, hooded, and driven to different facilities. Kevin won't see daylight for 23 months. Julia will be interrogated for 200 consecutive days. Their arrest occurs exactly 6 days after Su Bin's capture. Precision timing that Western intelligence immediately recognizes as retaliation. China's message is unambiguous. Touch our assets, we take yours. The Foreign Ministry denies any connection between the cases, but Chinese state media tells a different story. The Global Times publishes an editorial on July 8th titled, "The Patriot Su Bin." It reads, "If Su has stolen these secrets for China, we are willing to show our gratitude and respect for his service to our country. On this secret battlefield without gunpowder, we face endless Western aggression. Special agents who gather intelligence deserve hero status." The article receives 3.7 million views and 400,000 supportive comments on Weibo. One comment with 50,000 likes. Su Bin did more for China than 1,000 soldiers. Behind closed doors, Chinese diplomats make their position clear to Canadian officials. Vice Foreign Minister Liu Zhenmin tells Canada's ambassador that certain bilateral irritants could be resolved if Canada shows flexibility on Su Bin's case. The translation is, "Release Su, or the Garretts stay imprisoned." Canada faces an impossible choice: honor their extradition treaty with America and sacrifice 2 innocent citizens, or cave to hostage diplomacy and destroy their credibility. Prime Minister Stephen Harper chooses a third option: stall. For 18 months, Su Bin's case crawls through Canadian courts. His lawyers file 17 different motions challenging extradition. Meanwhile, Kevin Garrett loses 40 pounds in detention. He's kept in a cell with lights that never turn off, subjected to daily interrogations about stealing state secrets. The secrets? Chinese investigators claim the Garretts photographed military installations. The evidence? Tourist photos with buildings visible in the background. Julia develops hypertension from stress, requiring medication that Chinese authorities randomly withhold. Their son files 200 appeals, all rejected without explanation. Su Bin watches this unfold from his minimum security detention in Vancouver. He receives Chinese newspapers, encrypted letters from Beijing, even visits from Chinese consular officials who assure him he'll be home soon. But by December 2015, something shifts. The Canadian courts reject his final appeal. The Americans offer a plea deal, admit guilt, serve 46 months, and avoid trial. If he fights and loses, he faces 60 years. Su's handlers in Beijing go silent. There are no more visits, no more letters. The message is clear: he's been burned. On February 23, 2016, Su Bin makes a decision that shocks Beijing. He waives extradition and agrees to face American justice. Within 72 hours, he's on a plane to Los Angeles. On March 23, standing before Judge Christina Snyder, Su pleads guilty to conspiracy to hack American defense contractors. He admits to identifying targets, directing hackers, and translating stolen documents. His confession provides the FBI with their first complete picture of Chinese military intelligence cyber operations. Names, methods, targets, everything Beijing never wanted exposed. The plea agreement reveals staggering details. Su confirms stealing files from 37 different companies. He identifies 14 specific technologies transferred to China's aviation industry. He admits to earning $4.7 million over 6 years, paid through shell companies in Hong Kong and Macau. Most damaging, he confirms the stolen data directly influenced China's J-20, J-31, and Y-20 programs. These aren't allegations anymore. They're confessions from China's own spy. The intelligence community will study Su's testimony for years, using it to patch vulnerabilities and identify other potential assets. Judge Snyder sentences Su to 46 months in federal prison, less than 4 years, for stealing $600 billion in military secrets. The light sentence reflects his cooperation and America's desire to send a message: defect, and we'll protect you. Even your enemies respect a professional. Su serves his time at Terminal Island Federal Correctional Institution, a minimum security facility known for housing white-collar criminals. He teaches Mandarin to inmates, maintains a vegetable garden, and writes a 400-page memoir that the CIA classifies immediately upon completion. September 15, 2016. 2 weeks after Su enters federal prison, China releases Kevin and Julia Garrett. Kevin has been held for 775 days, Julia for 186. They're deported to Canada with no explanation, their coffee house seized, their life's work destroyed. The prisoner swap nobody acknowledges is complete. Su's betrayal costs Beijing 2 years of hostage leverage for nothing. The Garretts return to Canada traumatized but alive. They'll spend years in therapy recovering from their ordeal, as pawns in a game they never chose to play. The Su Bin affair fundamentally changes cyber espionage. In September 2015, President Obama presents President Xi Jinping with evidence from Su's case: stolen files with Chinese military signatures, confirmed by China's own spy. Xi can't deny it. The two leaders announce an unprecedented agreement: no more cyber theft for commercial advantage. Private security firms report Chinese intrusions dropped 90% over the next year. The agreement holds for exactly 18 months before slowly unraveling. By 2017, new Chinese hacking groups emerge with different names but familiar methods. March 3, 2020. Su Bin completes his sentence and boards China Eastern Flight 582 to Beijing. No media covers his return, no hero's welcome awaits. Chinese intelligence considers him compromised, an asset who talked. He disappears into suburban Shanghai, his $8.3 million frozen, his reputation in ruins. The technologies he stole, however, live on. China's J-20 enters mass production in 2021. The Y-20 becomes the backbone of Chinese military logistics. The electromagnetic signatures Su provided helped China develop counter-stealth radars that can reportedly detect F-35s at 350 kilometers. America responds by accelerating sixth-generation fighter development, embedding counterintelligence teams at every contractor, and implementing zero-trust networks that assume every user is potentially compromised. The damage is already done. China compressed 20 years of aviation development into 5. They learned not just what America built, but how America thinks. Every specification Su stole contained decades of trial and error, failed experiments, and hard-won knowledge. You can't unsteal that intelligence. Today, Su Bin's case remains the only successful prosecution of a Chinese military spy for stealing fighter jet secrets. UC-2 and UC-3 were never identified. Dozens of similar operations likely continue undetected. The FBI estimates Chinese cyber theft costs America $300 billion annually. The Pentagon assigns 300 full-time staff just to investigate aerospace breaches. Every major defense contractor now employs former NSA officers to hunt intruders. The spy war Su Bin epitomized isn't over. It's evolved. If you want to understand how modern espionage threatens global security, watch our previous investigation about Edward Snowden, the man who outsmarted the NSA. Because Su Bin wasn't the first, and he definitely wasn't the last.